I am proposing to you of an organization where learning is a philosophy and which is a leadership philosophy. Tarun talked about culture. Culture in organization is always top down. It is never bottom up. It's all, and therefore if leadership sits around, and if in that organization, leadership is walking the talk, the product of that organization will be so responsible because the value proposition that is created by that organization will be so much empowering that none of them
will stay for life with the company.
may not,
Let me come to that
may
part.
may
The
not.
Proof of the pudding at the end of the day is what is the company getting. So let me ask a counter question. That should you really invest not money alone, focus on training when you have attrition in double digits? Tarun, before you have to leave, what's your take on this? If it's not confidential, what attrition must be, what, 25 plus?
Yeah. Attrition is very high
So
nowadays.
why should you train anybody? You can
Yeah.
apply for competition.
So, you know what happened, and it's an interesting example. We were training right at the top, and we sent people to these very expensive B school trainings. One was ISB, and one was, and you know, I have nothing against ISB. Don't get me wrong, but every time I've sent somebody to ISB, he comes back and quits. So I'm almost jinxed in my head about ISB. And you know, you can do contracts with people, you can do all of those things.
Do you have a service bond after training?
Yeah, that's what. You can ring fence people for leaving or not leaving. And I don't think any of that.
Let me tell you something.
Uh-huh.
Are we really at the end of the day all coming down to measuring money? If I send you for an ISB training, you will not leave before 1 year, otherwise I'll charge you 5 lakhs.
We don't do any of that, to be honest. We don't do any of that.
I'm not taking your personal example, but I mean, it's the principle. Do you do that, ma'am?
We don't.
You don't do that. What about you?
So you just mentioned measurement again, you know, so I just want to draw the attention back to the same point that while learning is not a one-time event, measurement can also not be, you know, so
Well
you
said.
will have to continually
Well
measure
said.
your
Very well
people,
said.
you know, time and again. And obviously, I strongly disagree with Sanjay when he says that, you know, let learning be in individuals take more than an organization. It has to be a blend of both. You know,
Totally.
the
Very well
millennials
put.
are not going to sit pretty and get that download. They will bounce back and yap back at
I
you.
need to butt in.
And,
After her.
Okay, go ahead.
and like Tarun said, that
You
he
want to
deals
disagree
with
with
these
that?
25-year-olds all the time who just will teach you a thing or two. So measuring dual responsibility of
One
individual.
quick repartee from you.
I'm at the plateau where I believe that outcomes of organizations are outcomes of human beings in that organization. They are not independent of somebody sits somewhere else and says that my organization has done well. Organization has done well because everybody in that organization has contributed to doing that well. If you create a philosophy where people come to level 5 of thinking, yeah, everybody will do things which is best in the best interest of the organization. You don't have to then delegate by
Okay,
saying that.
we'll respect that, Sanjay.
Yeah.
But, since Tarun has to leave, Tarun, you actually indirectly implied that technology.
Tarun, wait
is,
here. I mean, last 5 minutes I'm only hearing Tarun has to leave, so just wait.
Is it? Is it? We'll bypass Tarun then. But
Let's
seriously.
ring fence him.
So Tarun, you implied that technology, etc., is all young people like you are familiar with it, and that the people above certain 1 minute, and that those who are in technology is not age related.
Not at all.
Let me ask you, how many of you are on, of course, LinkedIn? Or everybody. Silly question.
This is an HRD
How
network.
many
They
on
won't be on
Twitter?
LinkedIn.
How
Where
many
else?
on Twitter? Okay, how many of you have crossed 165 level in Candy Crush? There are people. So Tarun, it doesn't matter what age. Technology friendliness comes to people with interest in technology. Do you agree or disagree? Because you implied that.
No, I completely agree. I think in my own household, my father is far more technology, savvy than I am. So I can hardly say he got a Mac before me. He has an iPhone 7. He has more apps on his phone than I do. So that's not the point. The point was that usage of technology in absolute numbers, in obviously the millennials, is far higher than usage of technology in people in other age groups. And that was just a more generic point than anything personal.
Thanks for joining
Thank you
us.
so much. It's been a very interesting morning. Thank you.
So let me move
Thanks,
to
sir.
another topic completely. Kavita, would you like to respond? Do you believe in unlearning?
I think that's a constant, especially in the banking space, because we keep getting, we have product features and we have regulations, and then one fine day we have new products and new regulations. So we have to constantly unlearn and learn new skill sets. So today what is relevant might not be relevant tomorrow, and day after become relevant again. So there is this constant churn. The challenge that we have, especially with the reach that we have 57,000 people across 3,000 branches in the country. My challenge is reaching out to all of them in time so that they have the information to learn, unlearn, and learn again by the time the next one comes, because we can't afford to have a single
Unlearning,
drop.
but it's relearning something new.
Yeah.
Real-
So where
real
unlearning
fresh.
is concerned, if there is a philosophy change that we are looking at, whether if there is a shift in the way
If
we're
we talk
looking
about
at customer
philosophy change,
service.
Sanjay will have answers to that. Okay, let's ask question. Any questions from you guys? Yes, ma'am. Very briefly, very crisp. If you want a particular panel member to address, please mention the name. Go ahead.
So I would like anyone could answer. So my question is, we are talking so much about technology, and we are saying that e-learning is a fad and it's going to be there. So then, e-learning or blended learning? Do we get rid of completely traditional classroom learning? Because when we take e-learning, then there is an entire challenge of self-discipline, right? How do we then hold them responsible? At the end of the day, we are responsible to the management. So are we looking at only e-learning, or we look at blended learning? Given a choice, what would you opt for?
I would just like to mention here that, blended learning is the way forward. E-learning is something, it's like a self-learning where you go through the entire module yourself. But the classroom function cannot be ignored, particularly because, you don't only get the impact from what you receive from the instructor over there, but also from the fellow participants over there. The learning experience is far richer in a classroom setting. And e-learning only makes it a little simpler because of the logistics, etc. And to make, access to learning that much more easier. Both have to coexist.
It's a combination.
So in the morning session, I think one of the panelists talked about e-learning being there, for 20 years and beyond. Yeah. So the need is surely blended, like Sir mentioned. However, there is a strong need to change our conventional e-learning today. The way e-learning is done, and like somebody also mentioned earlier, that if there is no action on an e-learning screen, there is no learning happening. So conventional e-learning, may not take us where we need to go. There will have to be automative e-learning, more and more branched e-learning, which leads into scenario learning and so on. And your question itself had the answer, blended learning. Yeah.
So something that's worked well for us, both of them in isolation doesn't work for us. But what we've tried to do is use e-learning for knowledge development. So when there is information and processes that need to be learned, we use e-learning. When it's skill application, where practice has to happen, we move that to the classroom. So people use it either before or after, as a combination or a standalone. So that's the way we are trying to look at how e-learning and classroom can be looked separately as well as together.
Does anybody here have an example of a good e-learning thing that you are doing in your place that you can share for learning for us? Where e-learning is really becoming a very effective tool. Any examples? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Shubham. I work for IDC Hotels. We have had this issue, and a lot of other hotel companies around India, wherein personalization doesn't get the right platform. For example, and then probably all of us would have gone through it. In school, we spent about 12 years studying till class 12th. And between all the 6 or 7 classes that take place per day for about 200 days per year, we all have this habit of saying, good morning, sir, good morning, ma'am. And none of the teachers ever corrected us saying, listen, if you want to be a good professional in your career, call me Miss Yadav or call me Mr. Sharma, right? Now imagine this, doing 25,000, saying good morning sir, good morning ma'am 25,000 times when you are growing up actually sort of trains your mind subconsciously to do the same when you become a steward or become a hotel manager, right? And that's the problem that's plagued our industry. So we came up with, we use Saba as a learning management software platform. And we created a scenario application for to address this particular issue. It's kind of worked well for us so far. We tap into the subconscious mind using the power of syllables, which is how difficult names or last names or surnames are, learnt. And so this in particular has worked quite well, and this is, as far as I know, probably the only module available, whether it's for the airlines or anywhere else in the service sector. So just wanted to share one example.
What's your name?
My name is Shubham Sharma. Shubham.
Shubham. So I call you sir, so I shouldn't call you sir, I should call you Shubham. Good example.
I'll be happy.
Good example. Any questions? Yeah, yes ma'am.
Hi, my name is Shanil, and my question is to Ms. Kavita. We started with, you started saying what are the initiatives that you do at your workplace, right? And one of them you said was having conversations. And then we went on where different panelists spoke about what are the different initiatives they do, right? Tarun spoke about the buddy program, we have coaching, mentorship, things like that. Now, these are the initiatives we are taking from the organization side, right? How do we ensure that the receiver is open to having meaningful conversations? Because when we come to workplace, we are tuned to behave in a particular way. We are said that it's different, work life and personal life is different. So the moment somebody enters an office, there's a different defense mechanism they come in office with. And how do you kind of, ensure that even though these initiatives are happening, how do they kind of open up and really create that impact that they're supposed to?
Nice question. Very great question. Very good question.
I didn't catch your name.
Shanil.
Hi, Shanil. A little award process called the Access Champions Award, where we reward people for going the extra mile. And we invite stories. So we don't ask for nominations. We ask people to share their stories on how they have gone the extra mile. And there's multiple levels of validation that takes place. But then we have senior leaders who travel across the country and go and meet the final selected people and tell them, now, let me first tell you my story of how working in Access has made a difference to my life and what customer experience has impacted me the most. And then I listen to what are the 5 stories that are there. So it's important for us, and that's something that we are driving very consciously. We're telling leaders to be open and to share their meaning of what it makes sense to them in that context. And once a person who's having the conversation is open and is willing to listen, we hope that that will bring in a lot more informality and a lot more comfort for the receiver as well, and that's when they start sharing, because then you're no longer keeping your leaders or people are no longer kept on a pedestal. They're almost considered human, and they said, okay, if they can have as many fallacies and they can have as many lovely experiences as us, then maybe it does. Because we had a lot of people coming and saying, we have done things that are so much more, but it was business as usual for us. We didn't really think that it was something that big a deal.
Kavita,
So-
what you are really pointing out is the involvement of senior management.
Absolutely.
Becoming role models. And that's what Sanjay, you were mentioning about how leadership should take accountability. Yeah, please.
She raised a very valid point. We grew up, at least people of my vintage and a generation later, saying that life is all about work. I must get good job, I must get good salary, then I get married. If 2 kids, in that one son and one boy, one girl, fantastic. 1 car, 2 cars.
How many
pretty
wives?
much prescribed. Today's millennial says that work is one part of my life.
True.
Now, if this orientation is not stitched into your value proposition, you will have conversations like this. People start getting stifled as they enter into elevators of the organization. People start getting very, very disoriented, if I may say, when they get into the cafeterias of the organization. Moment they get that AC duct smell, they think it is something different. Can you create an organization where even organization says, listen, life is extremely large,
So,
encompassing
what you
so
say is
many
very
things.
true. So, but no, all this discussion revolves around knowledge workers. Can we look at, say,